here's my general sense of this yoga. You don't have to be a perfect teacher. You don't have to cue the poses just right. The yoga itself is the medicine. You're not doing their yoga, they are. Your goal as a yoga teacher is to assist them in practicing. That practice is their own practice.
Yeah.
So if your cues don't sound like, whatever your favorite teacher is cues, it doesn't matter. If you're encouraging people to practice yoga, if you're encouraging friends, students to roll out their mat, if you're delivering the yoga in a kind way, in a clear way, you can use 1 cue, 5 cues, 10 cues. The yoga itself is the medicine. It's not about you. Okay? And there is an aspect of the role of the teacher that we're going to get into, but just know when you get into it and you start saying, bring your attention to your sitting bones and feel stability and support and root down through your sacrum and start making some circles, you can just say that and they're going to start making circles, and it doesn't matter how you said it. What matters is that you're assisting them in doing the yoga for themselves. The healing medicine of yoga comes up through them, like they're met. Something happens that's very, very precious, and it's unique for them, and you're just a guide. I love how Jeannie says that at the end of yoga. She'll say, thank you for allowing me to be your guide. Okay? So teacher could have a little bit of connotation, right? So just think of yourself as you're guiding through through some movements, and you have a good reason to believe that it might be beneficial to them. So you're going to gently encourage them. I invite you to do these movings. I invite you to do this breathing. I invite you into this meditation. The yoga all by itself will help them to feel better, to reduce anxiety, and all the other effects of yoga.
Less is absolutely more most of the time in cueing. So I can say that. And also, we want to give you a lot of different options on ways to communicate to people how to put their bodies in a particular pose so that they can actually go within and be in their body, okay? And this is why it seems like we give you more cues than necessary. And before anybody even asks, you are not required to memorize any of these cues for your final exam. Please actually don't do that. We want to see that this yoga has become your own and that you're able to really move through that inner teacher and allow that to rise to the top. So that's what we're looking for when it gets to that part. And until then, we memorize cues, we try them on for size, we see how it works, and then we shift. You'll at one point be given the direction of teaching a yoga class, recording yourself, and then listening to it later and taking your own class. You'll be able to hear in your voice when you do that, like, what in God's name did I say that for? It's a really fun discovery when you're listening to yourself and taking your own teaching class to be like, oh, I think I said 75 times in an hour. So come to the top of your mat, and your students in class will likely face the short end of their mat, and for this purpose, we're gonna have Christopher face the camera so that you can see him. Okay, so beginning in mountain pose, I want you to firmly plant your feet down. First, lift up your toes, wiggle them around, and intentionally place your big toe, pinky toe, inner side of the foot and outer side of the foot on the floor. Allow your energy to travel upward from the ground. So you're engaging your calf muscles, you're engaging your quads, lifting your kneecaps, tucking the tailbone slightly, drawing up through the belly button, through the core, allowing your shoulders to rest down. Externally rotate your palms, your shoulders. Take a deep breath in and be strong. Engage every single muscle in mountain pose, in Tadasana. So if I was to come and touch Christopher's shoulders, he would not tip over. He is so rooted and grounded in his mountain. Take a long, slow, deep breath in. And as you exhale, feel the energy of the pose, release, and allow your body to relax again. Take another deep breath in, grounding down through your feet and engaging every single muscle, wrapping them around your bones. And then exhale to soften and release. So what's happening in Dandasana pose is similar to Tadasana pose in that every single muscle in the body is engaged, you're strengthening and you're grounding. Now, for Christopher, having bent knees here, something that can be useful for students or make it a little more useful is to put those squishy blocks behind the knees. Especially if you're lifting somebody up on a higher blanket, you're going to want to be mindful. Christopher isn't going to hyperextend in his knees in this pose likely, and a lot of students will. So putting something underneath the knees, a bolster, a rolled up blanket, or some blocks is going to prevent hyperextension with an elevated knee. So you're going to roll the shoulder blades back, lead with the heart, take a deep breath in, send your toes towards your nose, dog, and go through it in an Asana Lab live class too. So there will be a lot of opportunities to engage and ask questions about this pose. And again, I'm going to go back to, what does this pose feel like in your body? What are you experiencing in the pose? Because that's what we can teach to the best. And then we get to branch out from there with other body types and other things that might come up for people in the pose.
Here's another way of saying this. I want you to write this down. When Jeannie or Daniela says, what does it feel like? Here's what you want to remember. We're not using the body to get into poses. We're using the poses to get into the body. We're not using the body to get into the poses. That's not what the yoga's for. We're using the poses to get into the body. The living present moment is in your body right now. It's what's happening. So if it feels awkward, uncomfortable, so what? It feels awkward, uncomfortable, and learn some modifications. And you're at least feeling the sensations of the present moment, which is where your life is. So this is one of the more potent anti-anxiety side effects of yoga, is that by being in your body, by doing this intense physical work in your body, that the mind doesn't have so much time to chew over the past or the future or the imaginations or the worries or whatever it might be. It slows the mind down just a little bit.
And I want you to also notice, just looking at the overall set, that there are categories of yoga poses. So we have opening, we have warming, we have standing, we have vinyasa, balance, strength, all of that. And you'll notice that you can take these poses and these kind of chunks of different types of poses and pull some out if you're making a shorter set. Do them over and over again if you're making a longer set. Maybe amp up the speed if you want it to be a little bit more rigorous. So I just really want to start this Asana Lab today by reminding you that we're giving you a foundation, and we do encourage you to step into your creativity with the set. You are not required to remember and only teach these poses in this order without any bit of your own flair. So just know that you have that freedom. We get a lot of those questions from students, like how they're starting class or how they're ending class. Are they allowed to do this? Are you allowed to do that? And one of the really great things about vinyasa yoga is that there is a freedom in creating flows and sequencing. So I did want to started out our session today with reminding you all of that.
Yeah, and know that whichever idea excites you, so if it excites you to mix it up, to try your own thing, then that's your approach. If you're like, oh my gosh, now I actually have to add more poses and figure more out, then that suggests that you really root down into the foundational program and have that be this course. So let this course be learning those poses as best you can and only adding on and changing if that creativity is something that has a real pull for you, if that's exciting rather than challenging. You're absolutely welcome to learn the sequence just as it is. You can teach it throughout the course just as it is. Your final video can be exactly this, maybe with a few poses removed to keep it a little shorter. You can work with the cues that we're giving you as they are, and you can even have your notes out in front of you when you're teaching your practice classes and when you're teaching the final class. No doubt you've seen yoga classes where teachers come with all kinds of things prepared for handouts and in front of them. And then there's other times where a teacher just kind of comes in and things start coming out of their mouth. Neither one is right or wrong, and you're not expected to do either one of those approaches. We want you to move into the direction of most comfort for you so that you can learn the basics.
Mm-hmm.